Based on the arbitral award, actually all of the islands in the Calayan Island groups that were subject of the arbitral award, they're actually low tide elevations. Meaning to say, if they're low tide elevations, they're not subject to any maritime entitlements. They're not subject to a territorial sea, to the contiguous zone, or an exclusive economic zone. Ergo, the consequence of that is that since they're all inside our exclusive economic zone, then the Philippines has sovereign rights over the Calayan Island groups.
Okay, pero kasi sinabi ng iyong colleague na si Attorney Romel Bagares, ang sabi niya, the PCG finally gets it right. Julian Felipe Reef is located 175 nautical miles west of Bataraza, Palawan, and is a low tide elevation within the territorial sea of Chigua Reef, over which the Philippines has sovereignty. So, bakit nga po ba? Yung Chigua Reef, I think it's also somewhere in the middle of the South China Sea, the West Philippine Sea. Ano po ba yung sovereignty natin doon and territorial sea natin?
Kasi if it's an island that is not low tide elevation and then it's capable of sustaining human habitation, meaning to say it can be a subject of sovereignty by occupation.
So yung Chigua Reef is part of our territorial sea?
It's our territory since we have occupation of it. So, meaning to say, if we occupy it, then we actually have, it has its own territorial sea. So,
okay. Now I get
for
it.
example, Pag-asa Island, we actually have effective occupation. And Pag-asa Island is actually capable of sustaining human habitation. In fact, may mga Filipinos doon. Diba? It's actually a barangay. So meaning to say, it's our very own territory. Pero kung, for example, Mischief Reef is just a low tide elevation, it cannot sustain its own economic life. So it cannot be subject of occupation. It cannot be subject of any appropriation. So, in fact, since it's not subject of any appropriation, even though China actually has de facto occupation, so meaning to say, it's subject to our
So itong Julian
EEZ.
Felipe Reef ay EEZ ng Chigua
EEZ.
Reef of which we occupy.
Yes.
Okay. Are they allowed, is the Chinese allowed to park their vessels in our EEZ?
No. Because in fact, the implication that it's an EEZ is that the state has exclusive sovereign rights to exploit its living and non-living resources. So the fact that they have not even asked us, and in fact we are prohibiting them, means to say they're already violating international law.
Teka lang, attorney. This logic that we own it, it's ours, just because we're occupying it, is it not problematic? I mean, does the whole world recognize that that is our territory, or it's just our claim to it?
In fact, okay, let's take for example Pag-asa Island. In fact, that's general international law that effective occupation gives title to that territory. So, meaning to say, the fact that we occupy it, we're already fulfilling general international law. In fact, in the arbitral award, the territorial dispute was never an issue because that's not within the jurisdiction of the arbitral body. So, the only issues there are the maritime entitlements. The only issue, the first, what are the characterizations of these so-called maritime features?
Yes,
are they islands?
Are they
rocks?
sandbars?
Are they sandbars?
Low tide elevations?
Low tide
Yeah.
elevation? Kasi how they are characterized will have a legal consequence under the UNCLOS.
So yung mga atoll na tinayuan ng Chinese ng kanilang mga base, sa kanila na
Sprat
yun,
base.
effectively.
Kaso the problem there is it's merely low tide elevation. So it's not subject of appropriation. So even if they made some artificial islands there, they cannot actually say that we can occupy it. They cannot actually have any entitlement to it
Sorry,
under
why
the
not?
UNCLOS.
Why not? They built it.
Kasi the theory there is under the UNCLOS on its own naturally. Okay. So
okay.
Mischief Reef, 'di ba? In fact, there's a airport there right now.
Yes.
But under the UNCLOS, it's merely a low tide elevation. So they cannot appropriate it.
And we can't also
We can
appropriate
also,
anything.
yes, correct.
So it doesn't matter for us to,
So
have
actually,
a territorial dispute over it.
The consequence there, whether or not we occupy it, that's not the question. The fact that these are within our exclusive economic zone means to say we have exclusive sovereign rights over those shoals.
What is allowed over our EEZ? I believe innocent passage is one
Right
of
of
them.
innocent passage, yes. In fact, even in the territorial sea, a right of innocent passage is even allowed. Oo. Pero that means to say that there is no, it's really innocent. So it's not a violation of the sovereign rights.
But first, I think we have to define exactly what constitutes innocent passage. I mean, to our minds, it's self-explanatory. But legally, what is the definition of innocent passage?
Well, if you really just look at the terms, innocent passage, meaning to say any passage there is not detrimental to the coastal state. Meaning to say there's no collection of resources, there's no collection of intelligence, there's no propositioning of some offensive weapons. So it should really be innocent.
But
It will
these-
not adversely affect the coastal state.
These new ones that were spotted in Whitsun Reef and Julian Felipe Reef, they were unmanned. Does it not constitute as innocent?
No, it's not innocent passage because in the first place,
They're not passing,
they're not
mooring.
passing, they're mooring. In fact, they're already affecting our own freedom of navigation in our own EEZ. So it's
Kahit na
not, definitely
unmanned.
it's not innocent
Okay,
passage.